Can you see my screen?
Yes, but it came little blur. Can you full screen and just check?
Yeah, it will happen. Don't worry. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, now it's fine.
Okay. So, guys, welcome to day 7 MuleSoft training. Okay. So, I'm just starting day 7 training. So, I will start with safe harbor statement. Like both speaker and host are organizing this meetup in the individual capacity. We are not representing any companies here. The presentation is strictly for learning purpose. We are not holding any responsibility whether the same solution will work for your business requirement. You have to do your own evaluation. Even like whenever you are doing product evaluation, you need to do your own evaluation. The presentation is not meant for any promotional activities, simply for learning purpose. The recording of this meetup will be uploaded to event page within 24 hours. I already shared the link from where you can find the recordings, right? And all the previous recording of this training. You can submit the question at any time. You can use the chat. Okay, make the session more interactive. Please, we are not getting much feedback. Like, if possible, like provide the feedback for the session. Like, you will get the email at the end of the session. So you can just provide the feedback. So organizer for this meetup is Jitendra, and moderator for this meetup Jitendra and Abhishek Batwal. Yeah. I will just skip all these slides. So what we have learned on day 6. So for day 6, we have learned MuleSoft batch processing, error handling, scatter gather, and orchestrating the process API. That is what we have learned. In today's session, we will continue with error handling, building experience API, global error handler, and deploying the process API and experience API to the CloudHub. So these are the things we're going to do in the today's session. So once we do that, it will going to complete our lot of main things about this MuleSoft training. So it will complete the API-led connectivity architecture. We have already built a system API where we are connecting to the Salesforce and unlocking the data from the Salesforce, right? Then we have built the process API. In process API, we have built one kind of job which read the CSV file and upload the data to the account object in the Salesforce. Then we have also created a process API or one endpoint which retrieve the account details and relative contact detail from the Salesforce system API and Salesforce system API connecting to the Salesforce basically, right? So we have done that. Now what we will do, so we also learn about error handling. Like yesterday, we have started with error handling. Like what are the different components available in the error handling? What is on error propagate? What is on error continue? Today, we are going to continue on same error handling. We will going to start building a global error handling. We will talk about the raise error component, how you can raise the custom errors basically, right? So those are the things we'll talk, and then we will see how we can deploy this process API and implement the API manager on the top of process API and just apply some kind of policies. Then, if time permits, we will build the experience API and we will try to deploy to the cloud hub. Okay, so I just forget to just tell you the difference between batch versus for each and parallel for each. So the purpose of batch processing to handle very large data set, right? ETL and bulk processing. I'm just starting with this difference. We have already talked about this batch processing for each and the parallel for each in the previous sessions, right? So I haven't explained the difference between those, when to use which component. So batch processing you can use like whenever you want to handle the large data set. So ETL bulk processing, so process list item one by one when you want to process the item in the sequence order and the data is not used, the small amount of data, then you can go with a for each. Whenever you want to whenever there is a no, like whenever you don't require to process the data in the sequence, right? So you can use the parallel for each, right? And execution type for batch processing asynchronous. For each is synchronous and sequential. Parallel for each is synchronous and the parallel basically, right? Then idle data size for batch processing, it can be 10,000 to millions. Small data set, small list, which is less than 1,000 item for each. Medium list, whenever you have 1,000 to 10,000 item, you can use the parallel for each. It split into records and a batch block, which we have discussed, how we can define max concurrency, how we can calculate the batch size, right? It process the record in order, so it will guarantee the sequence, like it will guarantee the order of the record basically when it will insert into the. It use the multi-thread to process the item, the parallel for each. Speed, best high throughput, for each is slow. Parallel for each is much better than for each. Order of processing not guaranteed. For each, as I mentioned, it is guaranteed. It will process the record in the order. For parallel for each is again not guaranteed. Error handling per record, error handling and summary, stop flow unless handled manually. So we have already seen like how we can handle the errors in the for each. So we have used the on error continue to ensure that like even any middle record get failed, it should not stop the processing. Then it's again per item but not batch summary. Here it doesn't provide batch summary. Similar like for each also doesn't provide batch summary, but you can track what are the records are failing and what are the records are passing. Memory uses optimized for the large jobs. For each it's low, it's medium to high on concurrency. Support multiple step. Yes, here it's no, it's a scope only. Like for each is nothing, it's a kind of scope. You can use the multiple for each. You can use for each under inside the for each. You can use another for each. So you can have a nested for each. Similar goes with the parallel for each. Use cases bulk DB load, data migration, file processing, syncing large data set. Small for each small transformation, simple iteration. For parallel for each is parallel API calls, faster processing of independent item. For scalability, it's very high for batch processing. For because we can define the max concurrency batch sizes, we can control how you have to process the record. Then for each it's low. For parallel for each it's medium. Threading batch engine uses the multiple threads internally, which we have discussed it, depending on the how many, like how what is the size of max concurrency you are defining. For it it's a single thread, and parallel for it it's multiple thread. So you can configure like what is your max concurrency. If you say 2, then it will create 2 threads. It is best for long running in the large processing order and the small data set for each. Then performance improve with the independent records for parallel for each. So these are the some difference which is very important. This will help you to identify what you have to use with the processing for each or parallel for each, right? So these are the things like you can take care. Okay. So let me build the error handling. Basically, do you have any question on previous sessions? Any question before I move into the error handling? No question. Good. So if there is a no question, it means either you are like not understanding anything, or you are understanding everything, like everything. So if you have any question, just feel free to ask. Abhishek is monitoring the chat window. You can put the question in the chat also. Okay.
Hi.
So now let me
Sorry,
talk.
hi.
Yeah. Yeah.
Myself,
Yeah,
myself,
sorry.
Ramesh.
Yeah.
Like I have. Can you explain about like in the batch processing how the variables are uh, coming from the step one and step two, Jitendra? Yeah.
Okay, so I will take
Yeah.
this later because today I have a different agenda, Ramesh.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can take this later basically.
Okay.
Okay, so because I have a lot of things to cover
Mm.
today, so I all like yesterday I already told, right? So you if you are declaring anything, any variable, so you can just access using vars dot or something, right? The variable name, as simple as that.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, I will go through the recording sessions. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's get started. So yesterday we have seen like we have created one small project to understand what are the different things error handling provided. We talk about on error propagate. We talk about on error continue. We talk about try catch, right? So try catch is nothing. It's kind of Java code basically, right? It's in Java, not Java code. So it's similar to Java basically, right? So you have a try and you have a catch. Under that you write some kind of code, and in case is there any exception happens, so it goes to a catch block, and whatever you want to do, you can do that under the catch block, right? We have discussed about try catch block, and we discuss about on error propagate, and we discuss about on error continue. Today we're going to talk about a raise error component. So basically we have some component known as a raise error component, which is used to raise a custom errors basically. In case like if you have some validation, and if you want to fail those validations, right? So you can raise the error. So let me start. So this is my simple, I will remove everything, right? I will also cover a choice router in this. So basically, what is happening here? So whenever there is a query parameter called partner, I want to raise an error. Whenever I'm passing customer type equals to partner, so I want to raise an error basically, right? So how can I do that, right? So I can use something called choice component here, or before that I can use the set variable. Okay, under the set variable, I will read that account type or customer type. Okay. So simple, I can just say customer type. And how I can read a customer type from query parameter. To read the query parameter, we use keyword called attributes dot. You can just search query params and the name of the query parameter, it will be customer type. So query parameter we have already discussed in the first session. What is that? Default. Default, I always pass the default value, right? Always have a habit of giving good name to your component. I will say set customer type. And we have a choice router. Choice is kind of if and else, right? So you can just use choice router, and with the choice router you are like, you can ensure the integration pattern called content based routing. So here you can define like when some condition occur, it has to route to this particular thing, right? If some condition occur, then you have to route to this thing, right? So here I'm just checking when vars dot customer type is equals to partner. So what I have to do, I have to raise a error, right? So I want to raise error because I don't support the partner. So simply I drag and drop raise error. Under raise error for customer type partner. Always give a good description what you are doing. Then in the type you can define something called you can give a namespace. I can just say custom error uh, incorrect. So you have to give a namespace and the type, right? So I'm just saying namespace equal to custom error incorrect hyphen customer type. You can define your own error and you can provide here customer type partner is not supported. Please try with some valid customer type. Okay, so I raised the error. So once I raise the error, I can go here on error propagate. Here you can see there are multiple types of errors available, right? But in my case, I want this error type, which I define here, right? So I will just say copy this. So whenever any error occur from raise error, it should go here, and I can either you can use any, or for any it will cover everything. And here I will just custom error, which is namespace and the error type. Here I will go to transform message. I'm just saying error dot description failing component. I will not going to print a error component anything like this. Okay. So I just want these three data, and here I can just rename, and I can just say error message. And if you don't see, I don't want to log this exception because it give a uh, uh, very big like very big kind of data in your console. Basically, I avoid these log exceptions. Instead of that, whatever I'm generating here, I will log that. So for that, you can use simply a logger component, right? And I can just say payload, and here I will just change this to error, and I will just say log error. Simple. In case like if my customer type is different, what you have to do, I will just say log success. Okay, I will just say success and valid customer type. Let me go to listener and change this to some better name, API slash customers. Okay. So simple, I just have a HTTP listener where I will get a query parameter. I'm reading that query parameter into the variable of type customer type. In case if customer type is equals to partner, I'm just checking the choice router. So choice router basically it work like a if and else. Basically, you can have a multiple if and else, right? You can add more and more conditions here, right? In case if it doesn't find any condition, it will route to the default basically. And if there might be possibility for one of the one of the requests, right? So there might be two route where the condition is satisfied, but it will always execute the first satisfied condition basically. Okay. So if you have like multiple routes and where whatever if multiple if the condition is satisfied for the multiple routes, right? It will always take a first preference, the first matching route. Okay. So let me save all this. I will run this. Till that, I will go back to my HTTP localhost 8081/API/customers. Now here I will just say customer type equals to vendor. Let's see what happens. Let me check whether the application is successfully deployed. The application is deployed. Let me send. I got 200. Okay, let's see what it has been printed in the logger. So if you see the logger here, it's saying success a valid customer type, right? Now let me change this to the partner. So here I got the error. Basically the customer partner is not supported, but customer type partner is not supported. Please try with some valid customer type, right? And like this is what we got. Okay, so here if you see, it has been raised the error. From when it raised the error, it gone to on error propagate, right? And from on error propagate, it execute this particular transform message error dot description. It came from here description we have provided, right? If you want to override, you can just write the description here, your own description, and finally it log in it, right? So that is how you can create a raise error component. So you have a situation where for some kind of request or for some kind of input, you need to do some validations, and in case if that validation fail, you need to raise some custom error. So that is how you can create a custom error basically, right? Using the raise error component. So we have covered on error propagate, on error continue. We have covered try catch. We have covered raise error component, right? So these are the things we have covered. In the router, we have covered choice. We have covered the scatter gather in the previous session, right? So for example, if I want like one more route, like, okay, so I will just say logger. I want one more route here, right? I can just put it here. So now you can put another condition here. If I say uh, vars dot customer type is equals to partner, or vars dot customer type equals to vendor. Okay, so let me do one thing here. I will just say route to executed. Here I will also put some kind of logger component inside this. Before that, and I want to show you something. Route 1 executed, and here I want to put something called, I will just say route 3 executed. Okay, so let me save everything. Let me go to console. Let's wait. I just want to explain, like, what is happening. So that's why I'm just adding some more things. Okay, my application is started. I will clear the console. I will pick. So first, I will start with a partner. What will happen? So there are two route where condition will be satisfied, for the route 1 and for the route 2, if you see it, right? Because if you see the customer type equals to partner, here I'm saying a customer type equals to partner or customer type equals to vendor. So if I pass a customer type equals to vendor partner, it will satisfy the condition in the two routes, but it will always take the preference for the first matching route. Okay, so let me try that. I will just send partner. I got the error again, right? So 1 minute. Okay, customers. Okay, something is okay. Okay, I just have to change the error. It is correct, right? So I will just change the HTTP status because like it's a 400 error. Bad request. I will just change that variable. I will save it because you have to always give a correct status code. Let me check a console whether it is deployed. Yeah, it is deployed. Now I will send. I got 400 bad requests. Even two conditions are matching, right? Now I say vendor, and let me show you some logs here. Okay, so first it will say route 1 executed. So it means the first matching condition has been executed, right? And it has thrown the error. Let me kill, and then finally it print that error logs basically. and we got in back in the response. Clear the console. Let me go back and just say vendor. I will just say send. Here it should execute the route 2, right? So if you see, the route 2 is executed because my condition here, it is for my second route, this condition has been matched, right? If I pass something called vendor or supplier, it will execute route 3, right? Let me go back to console, and it's saying route 3 executed, success valid customer type, something like that. You can see route 3 is executed. Okay, let me refresh clear and just put one more. So you can see route 3 is executed and the second log success. Like this is how it does the routing basically. Right? Any question on this choice router?
Nothing on chat.
Okay, it's clear, right? And it's any question on raise error component? Okay, cool. So let's move ahead. So now I will go back to my process API. We will start building a error handler, basically a global error handler. What does this global error handler means? So if you see, like here you see, like this particular flow have its own error handling, basically, right? If you see, if this particular flow have its own error handling, right? Now if I go to process API, account Salesforce API, right? This particular error have its own error handler, basically, right? This having its own error handler, right? So now I want to build like a global error handler which can be applied to all the flows basically. We can do that. How we can do that? I will simply say right click a new mule configuration file. I will call this as a global error handler. I will just say finish. In this, like so I will simply search for error handler here. Just drag and drop a error handler. Okay, and give a good name to this error handler. Right here, I can just say account process API global error handler. Okay, so this is what you have to do. Under that global error handler, I can just drag and drop on error propagate. I can drop many on error propagate. Okay, I will just not make it very bigger, right? And okay, let's keep this much. And now here you can start defining the what kind of errors need to be executed for this basically. So here if you see, I cannot see a lot of errors. So for now what I will do, if you want to see the types, right, you just drag and drop that particular connector for which you are building it, right? Just drag and drop here. Now go here on the error handler, right? And you cannot see it. So what you can do, just drag and drop on error propagate there. Under that, like if you want to make it correct, right, under that error handler, and if you see the log here, you can see, right? So I will just want a bad request. I will just select that. I'll copy this and I will go to my global error handler. I will go to, and on error propagate, I will say this type of error. Okay, I just copy this. Now I will set a variable which is known as a http status. I will drag and drop. I will call this as a http status, and I will set a variable for bad request. It should be 400. Okay, I will just say set http status. Okay, simple. Now here I will go and select the second error which is 401. I will remove this, and I should have it something called 401 unauthorized. Okay. So this is the easiest way, like you can do it. Otherwise, you need to know, like so better to use this one. Copy this. Let me see why this error is coming. Okay, I will copy this HTTP status. I will paste it here. Okay, and I will just change it to 401. Okay, now I will go with another error which is 404. Just search it here. Not found. Okay, you can define the multiple error also together, but for now I will just showing single by single. Copy this type on error. Okay, and I will copy this. That's something. Okay, let me copy not found again. Okay, not found. Just copy this set variable inside this. I will give 404. Okay, that's fine. And now here what I will do, I will just say all 500 errors, right? So I will just collect the multiple errors. So I can select like, internal server, like, forward vision connectivity, right? And many other error like, maybe service unavailable. You can do that. I will just put timeout. So these are the errors. I will select it. Okay. And I will just copy these all errors and I will go there. Okay. Here I'll copy this. Okay. Under this, I will just change this to 500. I'll remove it. And in case like if it's not able to find any kind of error, right? Any kind of error, right? So it will always execute the block called any. So you just put any here. Okay. So any means if it doesn't found any matching error, so it can execute this particular block. So now you can see it. We have defined like different types of error. Okay. And let me do one thing. I can remove this. Okay, so we have a on error propagate HTTP bad request. Then we on error propagate unauthorized, on error propagate HTTP not found, and we have multiple HTTP connectivity timeout and internal server error. And in case if it doesn't found any error, it will execute this any block. Now I will create one subflow where I will create some kind of error right here. I can just drag and drop subflow here. Global error handler. I can just put this as a sub hyphen flow. And here I will start building a transform message. So instead of, I will just rename this to, and I will give a good name, error message. Okay. And here I can just change this to JSON. Then I will just say error message, error dot description, comma, error timestamp. I will use the now. If you end up time zone, you can just put this bracket and just say IST, right? Or if you have CET, CST, EST, you can put that. Then you can just say error type, or I will avoid that error type. Instead of, I will just say failing component, failing component. Okay, I'll keep it simple. So I just build this. So once it has done that, I will just say logger. I will just log the error, log error, payload, and just change this label to error. So it's easy to search also on the basis of log level. Now I want to use this in all this error handler on error propagate. I will just say flow reference, right? I will just drag and I will just say global error handler subflow. This just say invoke. Now I will copy this same flow everywhere. See, you want if you want to generate the emails or whatever, right? Or for errors, so you can define in this this common flow, right? So we have defined this our error handler. Now, what is happening here? If you go to this account process API, I have all this API kit not found and all this kind of error, right? And I want like this kind of error, API kit, bad request. These are also, I want to move these all errors to the my global error handler. So I go to configuration XML. I can cut it from on error propagate. I can go to an error propagate. Okay, just scroll on error propagate. I will just say control X. Okay, and I'll remove this error handler part also from here. I go back to my error handler. I go to configuration XML, and on the top here is okay. So now go back to your message flow, save it. Right, I will copy this. I will remove all this thing. I don't want all this transform message. I want my own transform message basically. So now it's copy this all component everywhere. Copy in everything. Okay, just you have to change the status every. It's a 400 for bad request, not found. It's 404, and API kit methods not allowed. It's 405. Not acceptable. It's 406. Unsupported media type. It's 415. Okay, not implemented, which is fine. Like we already used that. Okay, so okay, for this we have to. It's a API kit one, right? So it's 501. Okay, now other type we have already defined. So we have like all these particular error handler, API kit, bad request, like all method not allowed. Then we just copy paste from this particular file, right? Everything here basically, right? So there's a no error in this file. Just save everything, right? So we have already have a global error handler. We have defined it, right? Now I want to use this global error handler for all the flows. So you go to your global.xml, you go to global element, just say create. Under the create, you search for configuration. Okay, and under configuration you can just say default error handler. This is my default error handler. Okay, just save it, go back to console, right? So I define my default error handler into my default, like under default error handler configuration. Okay, so let's see whether it's deployed or not. Okay, I have to run this. Okay, so okay, what I will do, okay, so I've just deployed it. Okay, so some this particular API, I can just put some empty, like to this. So now we got a proper error 404 not found with error message, error timestamp, failing component, and all these things, right? We got this proper error basically, right? But if here also we can see the errors and everything. And but this is all printed by system, and this is what we have error. If you want to remove whatever printed by system, right? So it's very easy to do that. So you can go to global error handler, go to each and every component, right? And make sure this log exception component is unchecked. Okay, like that. But for now I will keep it as it is. Like if you don't want to print, so because I'm already using my logger to print that, right? So you can remove that if you don't want it. Okay, so that is what we have done. We have just generated the error handler, right? So global error handler basically. So that's how you can do it. Now my question is like, anybody have any question first of all?
Nothing in the chat, Jackie.
Okay. So for example, if you have a multiple global error handler, right? So in this particular scenario, and like your one of the flow want to use some separate kind of error handler basically, right? Like so you have 10 flows in your application. The 9 has to use some default error handler we have defined. But one of the flow requires some kind of special error handling mechanism, and we defined a separate error handler mechanism for that. So in that case, if you want to repair for that particular error handler flow for your main flow, right? How you can do it? It's very simple, right? So if you like, for example, I have a one more global error handler basically, right? So I will just copy this and I will paste this, and I will just say spatial error handler, global error handler. I will save this. Okay, there is no need to save, and I will go to process API account implementation. Right, this is my account implementation. I will just deal. Okay, under account implementation, right, you can just refer reference to the account, like special, like I just have to rename here. So under space, because it's same, right? So it will give a error. Spatial account. Now the error should go. So here you can just refer to the spatial error handling, right? So that's what you have to do. That's it, right? So now this particular flow will refer to that particular spatial error handler, right? So that is what you need to do it. Okay. So I will remove this file. I don't need it this for now. It may cause some issues. Okay. Let me go. Okay. Let me go to configuration XML and just search for. Okay, let me go to flow. Okay, so I removed that and just check everything is good. Yeah, flow, everything. You can refer this. Okay. Go to configuration XML. Any question on this? Any doubt or any question?
No, I have provided it, but Swaminath has this doubt like how the error takes precedent in global error handling. So I mentioned like it is.
Precedent in the sense like it depends on error type, right? So what error type is coming, depending on that, it will execute that particular blocks, Swaminath, right? So for example, I'm getting not found error, right? So it will execute the not found error like no component, right? So def and so like you are defined the global error handler, like and you are not referencing any other error handling in your flow. So it will take the precedence of the your global error handler. In case if you are defining an error handling at a flow level, then it will take the precedence of the error handling you are defined at the flow level. Basically, that is what you are asking. So if any is placed in the beginning, it will take any like it at the first step itself. Basically, you have to place the any at the end. Basically, you cannot place the any at the top. Otherwise, it will be the first match, right? It will always a first match. So any get executed. Like any error, it will going to handle it. So any is
Uh,
always placed at the end.
Jitendra, I have a question here. If any is going to handle all such of errors, right? Why do we are defining separately for other errors?
So that then like any will always throw 500. Like if you want to have a different error code, right?
Mm-hmm.
For not found, you want 404. You want to define a separate error, right?
Mm-hmm.
A different error on propagate. Otherwise, any will one on error propagate can return only a single code, either 500 or 400, whatever you define.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want separate error code for bad request, you want 400.
Mm-hmm.
If not found, you want 404. You want to correct code. There might be possibility for different for different component or for different error type, you may have to change your message and all these things, right? The out
Mm-hmm.
of generating message or error messages, you want to change it, you can do that also, right? So there are the main
Mm-hmm.
thing, you want the HTTP status, right? So you have to define
Okay.
different on error propagate.
Okay. So are you going to talk about this component level and flow level and global
So
error
we already
handling
talked, right?
level
Yesterday
next?
we discussed about that, right?
Okay.
So if you see the yesterday we
Oh.
already applied the error handling at a component level, right? And now today we
Okay.
whatever we define a global error handler, which is applied at a whole application level, right? And there is a another
Yeah.
way. So if you want to refer a same error handler to all your APIs, you can define a separate
Mm-hmm.
application which can be published to any point exchange as a plugin, and you can use it as a
Mm-hmm.
dependency in your
Mm-hmm.
application.
Okay.
Yeah,
Understood. Thank you.
cool. Okay, so now let's see. Now we will start with our deployment part. So I will just log in into my Anypoint Studio, sorry, Anypoint platform. Just focus on deployment part, what I'm doing. So first I will go to my API manager. Okay, so let's go to the API manager. So I will be enable the API auto discovery, which we have discussed in the previous session. I will simply say add new API. I will just say Mule Gateway. Here I will deploy as a API auto discovery, not as a API proxy. So I will choose connect to the existing application. Next, then you have to search the API. I want to deploy my process API. I will just say account process API. Then you can just select the latest. It will by default, it will select all the latest versions. Just say next. Instance, yeah, I will give some kind of name so it can be easily identified. Account process API, and it is a mule training. And let me go advanced option. I don't want anything. Next. Okay, I will just say next. Okay, I'll just say save. So now if you see this particular is still unregistered, right? This API instance ID is very important. Copy this API instance ID, go to your application, go to your config files, and I can just use API ID. Okay, this is my API ID. I will save this. Now go to global.xml, global element, just search for auto discovery. This is my API auto discovery. And what is your API ID? I have saved in my config file. I can access using API ID. So dollar curly bracket API ID, and you have to give a start flow, which is your main flow. Okay, just say okay. Just say save all. Right, this is we have done. Let me export this. Just say next and just say finish. Yes. So before that, I want two things. I go to API instance, I go to environment, I go to client ID. I just copy the client ID from the environment information. So I let me find let me copy paste somewhere. Right. Just say okay. So I want to open Notepad. I have some Notepad here. Okay. I'll copy this here. I'll put any point dot platform dot client ID. Let me correct this out. It is equal to this. Right. Just paste it below. Just say secret. Okay. Okay. Copy this client secret. Go back to your notepad and just paste change this. Okay. I will copy this. Just keep handy. Okay. Just say done. Go to runtime manager. Okay. Let me delete this application. I don't know what I've done. Okay. I don't have much memories. It's a free account, right? So, okay. Now just say deploy application. I will just say account process API mule training. Right here, you can select where you want to deploy. I will select. I have default like US East OEO. It support up to 12 region. I will just say choose upload file and let me search where is my file. I haven't got that. Let me, account, yeah, it's there. Then I will select the long term support always. I will keep replica count as a 1. I can just put 0.1 v4, right, and rolling update. Then I go to properties. Under properties, I will just set text view. Let me copy this to properties. Then I have to copy mule.env, which is equals to dev mule.secure.key, which is equals to, I already have a secure key here. I copy this, I paste it, I go to table view. So I will just protect this value because I don't want my client ID and client secret. You can protect the client ID also, right? So these are the things I need to do, and I will just say deploy application. So let it get deployed. I'll duplicate this tab. I'll go back to my API manager. Okay, so it's not activated. As soon as it will get deployed successfully, it will get activated. Just keep the eye on the log, what is happening here. Okay, if you have any question, I can take it. So it takes some time for deployment. You will see the logs coming soon. Okay, so let's key I here Mule Process API. Yeah, no logs start coming. Let's see, keep the eye here. Okay, let's keep eye here. Okay, it is deployed, and I think it should get activated now. It takes few seconds. Okay, so let me check one thing. Control app. You can just search for unblock. So you can see this API ID has been found, is now unblocked, right? Which means it has been successfully peer your runtime manager with the API manager. So it should be green soon. Okay. Let me go back to settings and let's verify everything. This all looks good. Yeah, it become a green now. Okay, and it become a registered. Okay, so now I will test this API. So I have this URL because we have created the process API yesterday, right? So let me test this out. I have some, yeah, this is one. I will replace this HTTP localhost, okay, slash. Yeah, we got the response properly. The first request always take time, like 4.71 seconds. Second should not take that much of time. In millisecond, 395 milliseconds, right? So first request always take time whenever you deploy application because it initialize everything. So it takes time, but after that it doesn't take much time. So you can see your process API is working fine. Now I want to secure my process API. So what we will do, we will go back to your runtime manager. I will just say policy. I'll say add policy. Okay, I just apply client ID, enforcement policy. Just say next. Right here using attribute.header as a client ID, attribute as a client secret. If you want in query parameter, you just say attribute.query parameter.client ID. You can say that. Generally, we don't send in the query parameters. I can just apply the policy. Okay, now here we are code. After a few seconds, you will see the message here, like the policy has been successfully applied. It almost take 45 seconds for that policy to get applied. Okay, let's wait. I want, like, I will till that I will also open a secure property generator. I will need it later. let's let's check here also. So now we are start getting this authentication error, right? Access denied. But yeah, you will see the message here also. Yeah, you can see the policy has been applied. You can see that message here. Okay. So now we will go to any point exchange. I will go from here. I think it's in API exchange. We will generate a client ID and the client secret. So this is my account process API. Click here. Just say request access. Either you can see account process API mule training self. Right. Either you can use the same one, silver or mule training API sandbox. Right. Okay. So I can use the same, or I can create a new. Okay. So account process API mule training. In just say create request access. It will generate a client ID and client secret for me. I go to Postman, I go to headers, I pass client ID and client secret. Let's see we get error this time. No, it's no error. If I don't pass client secret, it should say invalid client. Yeah, which is okay. Good. So now our process API is also secure, like with client ID enforcement policy. Any question till here?
Not on error handling.
Yeah, Chandrasekhar, object store is coming in later section. We can talk about that. Okay. So not I will not tell little bit, I will tell more. Okay. So don't worry about that. Yeah. So and no question, right? So now we have already created system API. We created process API. Now we will create a experience API. We already talk about the error handling and all those mechanism. So now we will again start how we generally want to create the API, how we start, right? We start creating RAML, right? Then we verify the RAML, we validate the RAML, the stakeholder give the feedback for the RAML. Once everything is okay, then we start with the implementation part. No.
Jackie, sorry to interrupt. Just one thing. Uh, I'm not sure if we done it, but you would you like to talk about the mapping option what we get in the connector for error handling?
What mapping which we are talking about?
If you go to connector, please, any of the connector, maybe Salesforce or database, anyone. Just if you can talk a small bit about it. If you open the connector and if you go to the error mapping part, this one.
Yeah, that we can talk on this. Okay, so here you can map like errors basically, right? So for example, Salesforce communication basically, right? And you can define the name. It is like you can, if you want to map with some kind of custom errors or anything, right? So you can map those errors basically. So we have defined one of the custom error, and I want this Salesforce communication to map with those custom errors, right? So you can define those mappings here under the connector basically, right?
Yeah, just wanted to highlight a little bit on this because
So if you
this
want to
can be.
map like any error with your own custom errors, right? You can define here. You can just say, I want this, all this, everything like this particular like error. I have to map with this app or app like some authentication, right? Authentication error. So you can do that. You can just say add this basically, right? It will add. So whenever it will come this error, so you will see this as actual error basically, right? So error type to be mapped with this app authentication error. So you can define those kind of mapping at a connector level also. So like there are sessions where we will talk about when we will do some kind of so retry mechanism and everything. We will talk about some more error handling things there, right? Just keep in mind like we can map your like in out of box error with the customs error basically. Okay, just keep this in mind. We can talk more about with some live demo. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
we have this Salesforce system API. Now first thing we will build a RAML. I'll go back to my exchange. I open the exchange. Yeah. So exchange is done. Now I will go back to my design center. So I'm creating a experience API for web applications, right? So I will just say new API specification. I can just say web experience API. Just say create. And here I can just provide some kind of description. This is a customer facing API to retrieve account and related contact data. It can be consumed by any web application to show the account and related contact data. Simple. Now you can also define what are the protocols supported. I can just say HTTP. Generally, it will be HTTPS only, but for now, just showcasing it HTTPS. Then I can just say accounts, right? Description, retrieve the account and related contact details. Okay. Then what is the method get? In the get, you can just say responses. Under responses, you can just say 200 body application JSON, right? This is simple. I'll create an example folder here. Create examples, and here I can just say other. Okay, in other I can just say account response. Okay, I just say account, or simply I can put get also here, get account response. Okay, I can create a new folder inside this, which is known as a responses. I will just drag and drop this under the responses. Okay, so I created that. I have a one response message. I can use that. I will use the same response format as a process API. I don't want change there, but yeah, generally you can do the changes. But for now, I will use this. Okay, so this is the same response I wanted. I can keep as it is. Just this is a not done. Okay, so here I can just say example include examples responses get account. Okay, and here I can just say curly bracket account ID. Okay, so it's very simple. I just define an experience API or web experience API, very simple, like a simple RAML. So here you can see the document is generated, get and everything. I'm not handling like error codes or anything for now. Just I kept it simple. Just published. Just say publish. Let it be get published. Till that here we will create a new project file, new mule project. I can just say web experience API. I'll keep everything as it is, just say finish. Okay. Now I will simply right click it and I will just say manage API and I'll click on this plus sign from Exchange. Make sure you are logged into your account. Here, if you don't, just add the account and I will just search for web experience. It got published. I will just say add, finish. Yeah, just say apply and close. It will ask to generate the automated code. Yes, scaffolding. Great, it has generated that. Before we start, generally I create a new. I just do all these settings early, like at the first instance. I'll just say config folder. Under that, I will create a two file. I can just say file config hyphen dev dot YAML new file secure dev dot YAML. Okay. So these are the two files I've created which I will be needing, right? Then I will always create a global.xml file here, new, under this mule configuration file, global.xml. Okay, so I will just go and search in Exchange secure properties. I will just add the secure properties. Just say finish. So, like, I just want to check what are algorithms we are using earlier. We will use the same. Not here, sorry. It's a secure property. It's Bluefish, CBC Bluefish, right? I will copy the same key. Like generally, you keep the separate key for each type, each layer of API. So I will go to global.xml. I will create a two global property first. A global property mule.env, which is dev. I will just create another global property mule.secure.key. I just have a secure key. I will create a configuration property. I want to tell which configuration you need to read, property file you need to read. It's config slash config and mule environment will be dynamic mule.env dot yaml. Now search for secure properties. I'll paste same as it is. Just instead of config, I will change it to secure. Right? Dollar mule dot secure dot key. Then Bluefish is my algorithm. That's it. So I've just created these things. Just save this and start configuring this thing, right? I can just say account space peppy host. I'll give the host name of my process API. This is the host name of my process API. I will copy this. Okay. Then next thing I have to give account path. What is my resource path? I'll copy this resource path. And this has to be URI param. So I'll just put a curly bracket and name of the URI parameter account ID. Now in secure, I want again like account space peppy. It's nothing. It's a process API. Then client ID. Put double quotes square bracket. Client secret. Okay. So let me encrypt those. So I'll copy this client ID. I'll go to the secure properties, the tool. I'll paste this value. Let me get the ID again. Like, I'm from global.xml, secure.key. Just paste it here. Select the right algorithm, state, and generate it. This is my encrypted key. I go back to my secure dev. Okay. So let me encrypt secret also. Value, generate. Copy this. And secret. I have one question. Can I define a non-secure property inside a secure dev? You can do that. Only thing, if you are defining host here, right? For example, you don't have to put under the exclamation and the square bracket. You can simply like define the host here. Basically, you can copy this. So this will tell the compiler like these are the not even it's defined in the secure property. You don't have to decrypt it. only the property which under this exclamation and square bracket, you need to decrypt it, right? So you can do that. The view of access, it's same. If you want to access the any property from secure file, it is always secure colon colon and property name. And from normal, it's simply property name, right? That's it. So you can define us like the non-secure property under the secure property. Only difference, you don't have to put it under exclamation and the square bracket. Save. So this is all done. We have experience API. I'll define a new mule configuration file where I will just say account implementation. I will simply say account implementation. Okay. I will drag and drop a flow here. So I can just give a good name, hyphen flow. I can just say get account flow, as simple as that. Now I can use a logger component. Under that, I can just say retrieving the account and contact detail start. Right, I will drag and drop one more logger component. Completed. Give a name to a flow. Log flow start. Log flow end. Okay. I want a request component. A request component. I go to global.xml first. I just say request HTTP request configuration, and here the protocol will be HTTPS. And what is the host name? So you can use dollar account dot papi dot host, which we have defined in our normal properties file. Simple. And port number is always 443. You don't have to get, if the port number is different, then you have to provide it. Otherwise, it will by default take as a 443. Just say okay. So here you can give a better name, account papi HTTP request configuration. This is done. Now go back to your account object where you have to select a configuration you have created just now. You have to give a path. What is path? Which is account dot papi dot account path. And for account path, we have a one URI parameter, right? So how I can read the URI parameter? So do one thing. Always I do that thing. Set to variable. I can just say account ID. It will be coming into your URI params, right? So attributes dot URI params dot account ID default. Okay. Or I will just say set account ID. Request account process. Display name doesn't make any difference, like, but it's good to give a display name. Now I will just define my URI parameters. So which is account ID, which I've defined in the properties file here. If you see, this is the variable account ID. It should match, okay, in the URI parameters account ID, and you can read it from vars dot account ID. Now you have to pass a two header. One is a client ID and the client secret, because my process API is expecting a client ID and the client secret in the header. Client ID, which is how you can read the client ID mule. You can use dollar dollar also. This is another syntax. Simply you can secure colon colon. You can simply give a p also. You can just say p. There are multiple ways. Just trying to explore all the way. Papi account. No, it's account dot papi. Account dot client ID. Copy this as it is. And this should match with the whatever defined in the policy and client secret. Save this, and now go to your web experience API. Under that, you can go to your remove this transform message. I don't need this. You can use a flow reference. Just drag and drop flow reference here. Just select the right flow, which is get account implementation, right? And then you can just say invoke. It is not get copied. Okay, so we have implemented this. Just run this and let's see whether it works or not. Okay, so let's wait. So we have built our experience API also. It is getting deployed here. If it's better first test it here and then deploy it to the server. Good, it is deployed, and simply I will change this to HTTP localhost 8081 slash API slash account. Yeah, I got the response from my experience API, which is correct. Okay, which looks good. So it means whatever we define, whatever we did, whatever properties we have defined, everything looks good. Let's see the logs. So here we can see the logs, like the experience API is started, experience API, yeah, it should be completed here. Okay, which is fine. Okay, so you can just change the description, the flow. It should be completed, right? Okay. Yeah, it's completed. Okay, good. Retrieving it started and retrieving is completed. Okay, we can see that, which is good. So now next step, we go back to API manager again. Okay, we go back to API manager. Go to add new API, Mule gateway. Just say Mule 3, Mule 4, right? Keep connect to existing app Mule 4. Next, this time I will use web experience API. Next, and I can use a web experience API Mule training. Next, next. Okay, remove this. Sometime it throws the error for that. Save. Now we get a API ID for this also. Copy this API ID. I don't think. Go back to your config dev. Generally, we define the API ID at the top. It's better, like just I am following that. Control V. Just save it. Go to global. Just say auto discovery. Search for auto discovery, and you can just say dollar API ID dollar. Define a main flow. Just say OK. Just save this. Now you have done this. Just export this. Before that, once you do that, like we don't face the challenges that we have faced in the second session, just go to pom.xml, or I already have this group ID, right? I've copied from Anypoint platform. Just copy this. Go back to your pom.xml. Just we will validate the pom.xml first before we do any deployment. I will just change this company.my.company to this business group ID. Okay, you can also do that. Then just save everything. Just export this file thing. Next, save this to the desktop. Finish. Okay, just go back. Okay, runtime manager and box. Just say deploy application. Here I can just say web experience API mule training and select the file and I'll select the latest version. I'll go to properties. Property mule.env, which is dev. Mule.secure.key. Okay, secure.key. I will copy again from global.xml. If even you don't have to keep it here also. Generally, when we publish the code to GitHub, we don't keep in the code basically. Now I want two more property client ID and the client secret. So I already copied the previous deployment. So it's the same environment. I can copy this. Go there, just paste this, go to table view, protect all these values, which is sensitive. Okay, just say deploy application. Hopefully, it again start throwing that error. Okay, maybe let me check.
Your YAML name and your API name.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
problem. Okay, I will change this. Once you start giving the error, it keep on giving error. Refactor, rename. Just say okay. Just rename application also. If there's any reference, it will update it automatically. Just export this. Let's see. Hopefully, it will deploy. It will not create a problem. Account hyphen experience API mule training. Okay. 1 minute. Yeah, I have to change this to web experience API. Web experience API mule training, which looks good. I have to give all the property mule dot env dev mule dot secure dot a. Okay, then I will copy those two properties, a client ID and the client secret again. Hopefully, deployment will happen. And let me check runtime properties is changed to long time. 1 minute. Let me do one thing, other thing, right? No, so let me do one more thing, like export. Next, I'll change this file name also to mule training. Okay, so I will I will do one more thing. I will keep copy everything. go to table view. I'll protect this, protect, protect. Just choose file. And okay. Yeah. So name is very important. Like, no, what is happening here? My YAML name and application name was same, right? So it have a same asset with the same name available. So it is not allowing to deploy it. Okay, so it is deploying. It will take bit of time, at least 2-3 minutes for application to get deployed. So let me see. Let me open my presentation. Let's see what we have covered. So we have covered continue with error handler, building experience API, deploying process API. We have already deploying our experience API, the CloudHub. So now let me copy the URL. It would have generated the URL already. So let me remove this client ID. It will change because it doesn't have a client ID and the client secret. It will give 500 bad gateway because the application is not yet deployed. And keep the eye here. Still blue. Okay, let me see unblock. Still, yeah, it is unblocked. It means that it able to find the API key. What unbelievable. It's unblocked. Unblocked 2016516. You can see it. Okay. So it is unblocked. It should be green in some time. Yeah, it is active, right? It is already green. Okay, it is active. All these three API is active. This is also good. Let's test this out. So this is already Experience API Mule training sent. First request always take time. It took 3 seconds. Now it will not take more than 400 milliseconds. Right? You can see that I'm getting the proper response also. Okay. So let's wait again. Like, no, now we have to secure this API. As you know, for securing the API, we apply the policies. I will go to Wave Experience API policies. I will just say client ID enforcement policies. Apply. It is applied. Go to Exchange. Web Experience API. Request access. Yeah, sandbox. You have to select the instance, right? Which instance? With the sandbox, test, or production. When, right? So I want it for sandbox. Now create a new application. Web Experience API hyphen mule training. You can provide description whatever you want, but not necessary. Just say request access. See, in case like now policy is applied, let's see policies get applied. It's applied. Let's see if I use wrong client ID and client secret, what error. This is a client ID and client secret for process API, right? we get invalid client. So I want this whatever we generated, right? The copy, paste this, and go back there. Something I've done something wrong. We got the response also, right? So this is how, like, we have created the end to end, how we can secure the API end to end basically. So we have tested those out, right? So we have created a 3-layer architecture. The experience API, we have created the process API where we have built some kind of, like, it is uploading the CSV data to the account object using batch processing for each and the parallel for each. Then we also created one API which providing this contact and account information. So all orchestration is happening at a process API layer. All the transformation is happening at a process API layer, right? Correct. Then we have a system API which unlock the record from the backend system basically, which is that is where we maintain all the connection string to your backend systems, right? So that is the system API. Okay. So we have covered the whole API layered connectivity architecture here. Any question?
Edward is saying something like I'm not able to understand.
See, like, we see the we haven't talked about the transaction and all those things, like I don't want to go out of this topic for now, right? So we already talk about the batch processing, and I think we already have a talk about the transaction and compensation in one of the session where we already talk about that, right? So as you mentioned, the transaction is only applicable for database, VM queues, and uh, VM queues, database, and there's a JMS queue, right? So only the transaction is applicable for those three connectors, right? When we will talk about database connector, we will talk about the transactions also. But if you want to do the recompensation, then it has to be manual process you need to define. In case of, like, for example, you have a Salesforce object called account and the contact. You want to make sure, like, the data get inserted in account as well as in the contact, right? So the account, like, the see the data inserted in account successfully, but while inserting the contact it got failed. So you want to, like, roll back from the account object. So you have to write some kind of delete logic. In case of exception occur, you have to do the cleanup. Like, there's a no uh, da, uh, direct compensation or rollback is available. But in case in Salesforce, if you want to do the rollback automatically, you have a Salesforce composite connector where you can define all or none, whether you do the all, you insert everything in all the object, or you don't insert in any object. If any failure, just roll back it. So it is all, you have to define it all, like, manual, like you reprocessing logic, transaction, compensation, right? So all manual for other connectors. For, like, we have a transaction supported for VM, like GMS and the database. Okay. Yeah, I think I will stop here for today. Okay, so in next session, like, we have like, I already gave one project. I already shared the link at the start of the session. So mini project, like, if you can do that project, it will be like, it will be good, right? So whatever learning we have done in this particular last 7 session, you can apply those learning into that particular project, right? I just pinged it again. It's a very simple project. You have to interact with Salesforce case object, where you have to create this case using API, using Experience API. You have to retrieve the case detail depending on the case number. Basically, it's a very simple project. You can just drive it. You just start with System API, then in Process API, then in Process API you do some kind of validation and transformation. Then you can create a Web Experience API, similar what we have done today, right? And you make sure you apply policies, API auto discovery, and everything into all the API layer. Okay. So I will definitely give a solution for that. But I suggest everyone, please try it. Try it. If you try that project, you will get good hands on your MuleSoft. I will, on the last day, we will have a bigger project, like much bit complex, not very complex, a very bit small, like medium level complex project we will provide. So I will try. I will just say we just So I cannot like we will need personal laptop or setup. So it's up to you, like where you want to do it, right? So like you can do it in your personal laptop wherever it's possible, right? Then you then like in case we will keep one review session where we can just review the projects, right? Yeah, and on the last day we can review this particular project, right? Yeah. So we have a we don't have a session next week. So again we will resume in the December. We are remaining with 4 more sessions where we have to cover database, few more connectors, data weaves, right, and other things basically, right? So yeah, you can do it as Sweta. You can do it anywhere. Like it's up to you whether you want to do it a personal laptop, whether you want to do another. You can. It's up to you basically. Yeah. Okay.